Hello, and a very warm welcome back to my dear listeners. This is your host Sharmishta with episode number 6. The Palace of Vishalgarh awaits us to continue its story. So, shall we? I have no idea how long I had been unconscious, but when I opened my eyes, I found myself in my bed, the warm morning sun lighting up the room. Who had brought me here? Perhaps Raja Bahadur himself. I lay thinking about the previous night. I had not dreamt it. I clearly recalled walking into that room and all else that had followed. But from now on, I would not disobey him. I wouldn't snoop around. Those women I had seen last night were no humans, and I clearly didn't want any more such experiences. I shuddered as I recalled the sharp teeth I had seen of that woman. The sound of low voices interrupted my thoughts. I quickly got up and rushed to the window. A few men, they looked like nomads to me, were gathered in the courtyard below, talking among themselves. And as I watched, an idea began forming in my head. What if I could send off a letter to my office through these people? I rushed back to the writing desk in my room, pulled out a sheet of paper and wrote down all that was happening to me here. I sealed the envelope and pulling out some money from my pocket, went back to the window. A wave of my hand and one of the nomads saw it. As he came and stood below my window, I addressed him in a low voice. Could you drop this letter at the post office, please? And here's some money for you. The nomad smiled broadly and nodded. I shall surely take this letter to the post office, sir. I watched with satisfaction as he walked away. That evening, Raja Bahadur paid me a visit. Sitting down beside me on a couch, he said softly, "A nomad came to me with a letter." I swallowed nervously, my heart thudding again. I managed a small smile. Raja Bahadur pulled out the envelope I had given to the nomad. "This letter, Binoy Babu." I watched helplessly as the king took out a matchbox from his robe pocket. He struck a match and held it against the envelope. I watched, dejected, as the paper reduced to ashes. I should have guessed that the nomads were loyal to the king. Without another word, the king left the room. That night, as I stood by the window, watching the distant jungles in the moonlight, I made a decision. I had to escape from this hellhole, no matter what it took. Each night was becoming a living nightmare. I would go insane if I didn't escape. My thoughts were suddenly interrupted by the cries of an infant. It was coming from somewhere above my room. I knew Raja Bahadur's room was just above mine, but a baby's cries at this time of the night? And then I heard a woman's shrill cries from the courtyard below. I looked down. A woman, her clothes and hair disheveled, beating her chest and crying out loud, "Give me back my child, you demon!" I watched with horror as she pulled her own hair, all the while screaming and crying. Slowly, her screams died down, replaced by heart-wrenching sobs. And then I heard another voice, Raja Bahadur's. It had started on a low note, but was slowly rising in pitch. But I couldn't understand what he was saying. It was all gibberish. And then I saw them coming in hordes from all directions. Jackals. They entered the courtyard and surrounded the woman. Raja Bahadur's strange words were still ringing out loud. And then the wolves pounced on the woman, their deadly teeth sinking into her flesh. I hurriedly fell back from the window. The sight was horrifying. The woman's death shrieks rent the air. And then there was silence. I had to escape from this cursed palace. Yes, tomorrow morning I would. Raja Bahadur was usually nowhere to be seen during the mornings. That would be the right time to plan an escape. I needed to quickly pack my suitcase. I'd have to keep it ready. I opened the closet doors. My clothes, my suitcase were gone. I realized this couldn't have been done by anyone else other than Raja Bahadur himself. So, he intended to keep me here forever. What was I going to do now? The clothes I had on me were soiled. Even the 3 pairs of shoes I had were missing. I was trapped. An escape from this cursed palace seems impossible. Raja Bahadur has closed all the doors. What work does he have with Binoy that until he finishes that, he will not let him escape? The puzzles are many, and Binoy will have to find out the secret this palace hides if he intends to free himself. Let's find out what happens next as I return soon with a new episode. Till then,